everybody. Okay, so this is turning into a bedtime podcast. I don't know if this is going to continue or for how long it's going to go on, but for now, it's bedtime podcast for the foreseeable future. And I feel okay with it because I think for those of you guys that watch Summer House, Paige DeSorbo does like an Amazon live show from her bed. Obviously, it's very produced and I don't know if it's her literal bed, but if she can do it, then I think that us chronic illness warriors can too, right? So it has been uh, it's been some time since I've spoken to you all, and I just haven't been feeling well. I haven't had the energy or the spoons to kind of get on here and talk with you, and I don't really want to get into that. I don't really want to have too heavy of a conversation today. I think that I was kind of just going through some of my Instagram messages, and I just had a birthday. I turned 41. Oh my gosh, I'm in my 40s just a couple of weeks ago. And it's all these new things. I have these god awful Invisalign retainers in, which, all about self care and making ourselves feel great. And when you look great, you feel great. What's that Deion Sanders quote? He's like, I look good, so I play good. I feel good, so I play good. It all kind of goes together. So anyhow, forgive the lisp that you now are probably hearing, especially for those that are just listening and not watching. But overwhelmingly, it's kind of funny because I I wouldn't have expected it, but most of the messages, I would say like 85% of the messages that I've received consistently are like, oh, how are you? Hope you're doing okay. Like, I really appreciate that post that you just posted, but actually, like, how's your dating life? Like, do you have any updates? I had posted, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so that I was actively dating and I'm like out there. And it was just so funny because people were just so invested in like how this is going and what has been happening. And you know as Dorinda says, on Real Housewives of New York, not well. Well, no, that's not true. It's going, and I'm just trying to like not have whiplash from what I think is going well to then not going well to going amazing to then completely crashing and burning, and just trying to like keep pace with it all. It's pretty funny because I think that one of the things that was mentioned to me was that we needed to dive a little bit more into what we're really going through and like actually like not be so highbrow and give some specifics. And so you guys were asking about some of these like fail dates, and they've been pretty bad. Okay, so we'll just dive into it. With this share, I really want to hear your share. Like, I need to get something back to just feel some solidarity, to know that I'm not alone in this and that I'm not just out here dating guys that are weirdos and that you are too. So, uh, or women, like I just need I need some feedback. So please send me some of yours. But okay, so I was at the Democratic National Convention in August, late August, and had a ball. One of my best friends, Tara, just like runs Chicago and set me and my good friend Cheryl up into an amazing suite to watch Kamala's the last night of the convention when Kamala was speaking. And we thought Beyonce was going to be performing, so I was kind of like really ready for that, and that did not happen. But of course, that's not why we were there. It was, amazing, a moment in history. I had been to DNC back when Hillary Clinton was running for president, and that was the moment, in Philly. So it was amazing to be back in that space. I felt really activated, but as it's happening, I met a couple of guys, and so I found it's so funny. Like someone was like, "Okay, so what exactly are you doing to like meet these men?" Because for those of you that don't know, I do not like online dating. I did it. It sucked. Um, it just felt like I was being catfished most of the time. I also just my self esteem couldn't handle it with people just like never responding to you after connecting with you, and I just hated it. It was a mind fuck for me. So I do not online date. I know plenty of people that have been married from meeting someone online, so I fully support it. It's just not for me. So people are like, okay, how are you meeting these people in person? I still have yet to been hooked up with anyone from like a friend of mine or from like my friend's husband. I've tried to put them all on notice, and it seems like my girlfriend's husbands were like the one good guy out of the bunch because all of the other men that are in their friend group essentially are trash, according to my girlfriends. So I've yet to be, paired up with anyone through mutual friends, which is what I would like and certainly what I asked for. But anyway, so how am I meeting these people? I've honestly just started smiling and like putting my hand like on their shoulder or on their arm as like a bit of encouragement, and that like one small move of like eye contact and a smile or just like a light hand touch has turned into asking me for my number and then asking me for a date. So I feel kind of like Legally Blonde with Bend and Snap, with like, is that all that it really takes? So I don't know, or maybe I've had a resting bitch face and didn't know it, and now that I'm actually like engaging and smiling at people, they feel like they can come and talk to me. Who knows? But anyhow, that's what I've been doing. I've just been smiling and like giving some shoulder taps. And I'm doing my shoulder taps and I'm doing my smiling. And I met a couple of guys while at the convention. This one particular guy, though, we just really connected. We really vibed. He made me smile. He was very smooth, a little too smooth. I was like, okay, you might be a little on the dangerous side for me. But of course, just like all of us, there's this piece of us that still love toxic men, right? So that's another podcast episode. But I'm like, yeah, here's my number. Let's get together while I'm still home in Chicago because I was still there for a few more days because I was also there for work. And we decide, we get together. Um, he chose the spot as kind of like a middle ground from where I lived to where he lived, which was great. The place looked super cute. It looked like this like outdoor kind of cornhole food truck vibe. Kind of felt like I was something you'd see in like Austin or maybe Charleston. Not really inner city of Chicago, but I thought it was really cute. So I'm there. I get there first, I think, and I'm like, okay, let me like get a drink. And the guy's like, okay, yeah, you just have to like keep your card like on file. So I'm like, sure. So about 10 minutes go by, and I was just about to text him to just be like, hey, are you, running late or just kind of like, what's up? I get a text message from him asking the same thing. And so I'm like, no, I'm here. It's like, no, I'm here, I'm inside. And so I guess the way that I had come, I never saw that there was like an indoor part. I thought this was all like an outdoor kind of bar area. And so he was actually inside. So I'm like, well, I just ordered some like chips and queso because I'm hungry. I eat on dates, just, I do eat on dates. So do you just want to come out here? Because like they haven't come yet. And he's like, okay, I'll close out and come to you. So get a little bit of like a, interesting start, but we move on. And, he comes out and it is the most, oh my gosh, it was so awkward. I felt like, where was the chemistry that we had when we met, just a couple of nights ago? It just felt like I was pulling teeth. And I've said to one of my friends, like, I'm an extrovert. I am talkative. I can talk to a wall. I can actually get a wall to talk to me. So it's not hard for me to keep a conversation going. I sometimes say that, like, if you were to go on a date with me or if you were to like hang out with me, you probably would have a pretty good time because I am just, I'm a Libra. I'm really charming, charismatic. I'm going to ask you about yourself. I'm going to listen. I'm going to ask you a follow up question. You're usually going to feel good in my space, in my aura, if we hang out. But if I'm going to feel great, like if I'm going to walk away and be like, oh, that was an amazing date, I had such a good time, that's a little bit of a higher bar. Um, and this guy was just not hitting it. I mean, it was just like he wouldn't make eye contact with me. He wouldn't ask me any like questions about myself. We didn't have much in common. So it was just kind of becoming a dud, but I'm like, I think we both were like, oh, let's get one more drink, just to like, this was just a drinks date. So I felt like two drinks was appropriate. And out of nowhere, he says to me that he has ADHD. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, so then like maybe that's why like I'm not getting like the eye contact, or he feels like he's kind of like all over the place. Again, like this podcast, grace. Let's just like lead with grace and just try to like lean in a little bit more and be a little bit more, open to like where this can go now that he's kind of like shared this. But we're still just not vibing. And so then now I'm wondering, are we not vibing because I'm the asshole who's like, okay, this guy just told me about, a disability and I'm like not feeling it. So like I'm pushing myself to like try even harder. And it's just still not, we're just not getting there. And so I'm kind of like, okay, well, it's getting a little late. On my flights tomorrow, I kind of have to go or, wrap up. This Negro asked me if I want to come over to his place to kick it and watch a movie. And I'm like, how did we get there? Is that like what we do? Is that what we do when we're dating these days? Like, we just jump to that? I was just like, what? We barely could have like a conversation or a flow of a conversation last more than like 45 seconds, and you jump to like, can I come over to watch a movie with you? And so I just kind of look at him and I'm just like, no. I was like, I really do have an early morning. I'm traveling. And he just kind of like looks a little down and he's like, okay, well, let's get the check. So guy comes with the check and he runs my card. And so my card now has paid for my drinks, his drink, and my guacamole. And I just feel like, what the fuck? How did it turn out that I paid for this awful date? And this guy is trying to like get in my pants. So I'm just like, and here's the thing. I don't even remember what it cost. I don't know, maybe it was like $40. Obviously, I have $40. Obviously, I can afford to pay for a $40 tab. That's just like not the point. And he kind of was like, oh, I didn't know it was going to go on your card. I could have, oh, like shoot. And it's like, dude, first of all, we have Venmo, we have Apple Pay, we have Cash App. You totally could have like sent me with Zelle. You could have sent me that money if you were really like, I'm going to handle this. Or you could have just given me cash, but to just be like, oh, shoot, darn it. I was going to get that. Oh, well. I'm like, okay, it's really time to go. So he's walking me to my car. And I feel like maybe something's wrong with me, but like I'm a little old school. Like, do you know how the guy is, walks on like the outside and the girl's on the inside, like to keep her from traffic or like whatever? Not the case. I'm on the outside. I just feel like I'm like all out on the outside of the curb. And he like walks into my car, asks me again, am I sure that if I want to come over? I'm like, I'm sure that I can't. And then proceeds to try to kiss me. And I'm like doing the like duck and jive, like bending back, like, luckily with my balance issues, I didn't fall, but I kind of just like tap him, on the chest, and I'm like, listen, I was like, I really do have to get going. And I didn't even say thank you, because what am I thanking you for? You need to thank me. I bought you your drinks. So I almost said thank you, but then like kept that to myself. He did not say thank you. And then he's like, well, when you're back in town, for Thanksgiving, I'd love to take you out again. And it's like, you didn't take me out this time. What do you mean take me out again? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, we'll see. Again, thanks for taking the time. Like that's the most I could kind of like come up with. And he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you too. And doesn't wait for me to get into my car, like to see if I'm okay, and just kind of like turns around and makes his way back to wherever he was parked. And I'm like, okay, that sucked. That was a bust. I get home. About 20 minutes later, I get a text from him saying that he's home, watching a movie, and that he really wished that I would be that I would, be there like with him. I did not respond. And then I blocked him. So, okay. I'm I'm totally open. I'm totally down to hear you guys just read me the riot act in terms of like maybe how I behaved on the date. And I know I'm a quick blocker. I know I block people fast. It's just what I do. I can't help it. I'm not stopping it. It can just be my red flag. But I'm just trying to figure out, is this what like dating, is this what happens now? Is it just this like hookup culture? I just didn't think that things moved at like that rate. And here's the thing. I don't really do like one night stands, but I certainly am like, if I'm in the moment and we're vibing and I feel like we've connected in a way, I'm certainly open to like going back to, your place, or having you come back to my place. Like I'm not this, you know, I don't have this like chastity belt, but I just was like, we had no connection. Like we barely could have a conversation. How did we get to like come over to my place? And so, and just like a little disclaimer there, like I did not share that I had a mess. That's still something that he to this day does not know, and won't ever know. And I think it just brings back to what we talked about in the last episode about like, when do you share that you have a chronic illness or a disability that's dynamic or that's invisible. And it's really up to you. And when you feel like you feel good in that space, I mean, and I didn't with him, I wasn't having like a high symptom day or a high pain day. It wasn't something that he needed to know. I didn't need any assistance. I didn't want to go into that with him. So I didn't. So he just never knew, and things have definitely had better moments, and I've had some worser dates, but I thought that was like a good kind of like, you know, mid-level, very mid date that I could share. Um I'm seeing this one guy now that I feel like I'm in my, for those of you that watch Sex in the City, my Alexander Petrovsky era. He's a bit older, and it's interesting dating an older guy. If you guys want to know more about that, we can talk about that too. But it's definitely different. I am not a submissive person. I am a bit of a control freak, like so many of us are that are living with this disease, where MS takes so much of our control away. But, I am trying to let go and let him lead a little bit more, but it's still very early days. It's only been a couple of months, under a couple of months, and so we're just kind of like navigating that, and seeing how we do with each other. And I've shared with him that I have MS, but we haven't really dived into it in terms of like what that looks like for me on a day to day, and what my needs are, or what that would mean for a long term partner, or a husband, and what role that would be for them. And I'm just not sure when I want to have that conversation. I feel like I kind of need to have it sooner rather than later because this is going on a couple of months. And I think that as feelings grow, I do think that it's my responsibility to share and be upfront. It's not long distance, but we're not completely in the same place geographically. So the day to day that maybe you would see if you were dating someone, that like lived in the same town as you isn't quite there. So when I do see him, it's a little bit more planned. And so I can kind of prepare and um, don't have as many symptoms when we're together. So it's not something that he's like actually seeing and experiencing really. And I do think that I need to find a way to talk about it with him. I think there's a part of me that wishes that maybe he, I don't know, had started to research a little bit more, tried to explore on his own, or maybe ask me some questions about it. But it's a scary thing. I know that he had looked up a little bit and I think got a little freaked out. Had said that he didn't know much about MS. He didn't know anything about multiple sclerosis, and so when he did Google, he said that it looks like it can be very debilitating, and it was a little scary, as we know Google can be. So at the same time that I was hoping he would have looked things up, I'm like, oh, I wish he hadn't looked things up because like that's a terrifying rabbit hole. And so I just think it's something that we're gonna have to talk about, and I just have to like put my big girl panties on and work up the nerve. I just haven't yet. So if you have any tips on how to broach that conversation with someone that you are dating where it's seeming like things might be looking to get more serious. They're not more serious yet, but I could kind of maybe see them going that way. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Um, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know, y'all. Like, we just have to like stay hydrated, stay vigilant. There's been a few homosexuals that have made their way into my phone. Um, it's been a wild time. It's been a wild, wild time. Dating, being a Black woman in her 40s that is successful and driven, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Because it's like, I feel like men my age that are looking to have a family are dating younger women because just it's easier on the fertility side of things, the reproductive side of things. And then it's probably easier too. A younger woman is probably going to just fall more in line with like the tone and the page that you've set. So they're skewing younger. And then older guys that are dating women my age, which is a lot of them, a lot of times they already have kids. They've been divorced once or twice. And so maybe they aren't looking to get married again, or they're not looking to have any more children. And so they're kind of in this other phase of life where they're kind of winding things down. And so they're just looking for someone to be a part of that kind of like last chapter of their life. And for me and, girlfriends my age, your 40s, you still have so much of your story to live and to do. So as much as I want to like retire to the residences at the Ritz in Cabo, like, yes, please. I'm not ready to do that right now. So it's just been an interesting dance of dating and just trying to stay open. I think that we have a lot of hard lines, bright lines, a lot of deal breakers, and I'm trying to kind of soften them up a little bit and just be a little bit more in the moment of, if am I connecting with this person? Are they connecting with me? Am I enjoying my time with them? What can I learn about myself in this experience? Um, what can I learn about what I'm looking for from these experiences so that I then find, the right relationship? And so I'm trying to not cut things off at the knees, as quickly, and just being like, okay, it doesn't fit into this box. So, we can't date. So, he doesn't want kids. So there's no way we can date, or he doesn't want to get married. So that's a no. Or um, just being like, okay, let's look beyond just like that questionnaire and see how I really feel. And so that's what I'm really trying to lean into in this new year of my life. And the road, it's a little weary, but I am staying the course and I'm hopeful. And I do know that whoever it is that I'm going to be with is going to embrace my MS and happily go on this journey with me. Um, and I'm just kind of holding on to that and reminding myself that I'm not a burden. And I want to make sure that you all know that as well. And if someone has not told you that, this is me telling you it today. So let's show ourselves grace. Let's show others grace. And I will talk to you all really soon. Take care.